Welcome to EPG Pathshala. Today we will be discussing about various types of rocks based on their origin, and we will also discuss about the rock cycle. Let us look at the learning objectives. Define rocks and classify them based on their origin. Distinguish between three principal rock types, that is igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic. Explain the concept of rock cycle and discuss the importance of study of rocks. How do you classify rocks based on their origin? Now let us look at this flow diagram. The rocks can be classified into igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks. Further, igneous rocks can be classified based on their origin on volcanic rocks, plutonic rocks and hyperbasal rocks. Further, sedimentary rocks can be classified into clastic and non-clastic rocks. Metamorphic rocks, on the basis of their textures, they can be classified into foliated and non-foliated metamorphic rocks. This is the concept of rock cycle which we will be discussing further in detail. Now, in this diagram or in this figure, you can see that igneous rocks are the primary rocks which are formed from the solidification and cooling of the magma. From these igneous rocks, after the weathering and transportation takes place, it forms sediments and forms sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks or metamorphic rocks or igneous rocks, they can undergo metamorphism and form metamorphic rocks. So, this is a rock cycle which we will discuss in detail further. What are rocks? Rocks are naturally occurring solid aggregate of minerals. They provide a historical record of geological events which give insight into interaction among components, that is crust and mantle, and spheres, that is lithosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere and biosphere of the earth system. Rocks occur in a range of colors and textures. In these photographs, you can see the outcrops. What is outcrop? It is the rock exposure which is present above the surface of the earth. Here in the first photograph, you can see it is a ridge. In the second photograph, you can see rocks are exposed along a road cutting. In the third photograph, you can see rocks are exposed along a nala section or a river section. Rock is a coherent, naturally occurring solid consisting of aggregate of minerals. Let us analyze the different aspects of this definition. Coherent. Now, what do you mean by coherent? It means minerals are held together in a rock that can be separated. However, a pile of unattached mineral grains or loose sand does not constitute a rock. Naturally occurring materials like brick do not qualify to be a rock. Rock has to be naturally occurring. Aggregate of minerals. Rock consists of aggregate of mineral grains grown or stuck together. The study of rocks. What do we call this branch as? Petrology is the branch of geology that studies the rocks and the conditions under which they are formed. It deals with origin, occurrence, structure, composition and history of the rocks. Further, we see how this classification of rocks have been done. According to the estimation made by Clark and Washington, lithosphere consists of 95% igneous rocks, 5% sedimentary rocks which includes shale, sandstone and limestone. What are igneous rocks? Igneous rocks are solidified from molten or partially molten material called magma. They are also referred as primary rocks because earlier also we had discussed why they are called primary rocks, because they are formed due to cooling and solidification of magma. Granite, basalt and dolerite are few examples of igneous rocks. In this photograph you can see granite. This is coarse grained granite rock. Sedimentary rocks. What are sedimentary rocks? They are formed by cementing together of loose clasts or sediments that had been produced by physical, chemical or biological weathering of pre-existing rocks. When they are subjected to geological agents like wind, water, glacier, they may also result from chemical precipitation from a solution, practically at normal temperature and pressure in sea or ocean. What are metamorphic rocks? Metamorphic rocks are derived from pre-existing igneous sedimentary or metamorphic rocks when they suffer pressure and temperature and undergo mineralogical, chemical and or structural changes. Some of the examples of metamorphic rocks are phyllite, quartzite and marble. Igneous rocks. Igneous word has been derived from the Latin word ignis, means fire or to ignite. Igneous rocks are formed by cooling and consolidation of hot molten material called magma, which rises up from the mantle inside the earth and cools. Depending upon whether the cooling and crystallization of rocks was taking place beneath the surface of the earth or above the surface of the earth, these igneous rocks have been classified as extrusive igneous rocks and intrusive igneous rocks. Intrusive igneous rocks. When the igneous rocks are formed by cooling and crystallization of magma at depth, the magma beneath the surface of the earth undergoes slow cooling, resulting in the formation of large crystals, giving rise to coarse grained rocks. They can be recognized by large interlocking crystals visible in hand specimen like in granite, granodiorite, gabbro and diorite. In an earlier slide you have seen the photograph of granite. Extrusive igneous rocks. They are also known as volcanic rocks. They are formed when the hot molten material erupts at the surface of the earth. It spreads out in the form of lava flow and it undergoes rapid cooling in contact with air and water. Extrusive igneous rocks are basalt, rhyolite, trachyte, and these rocks they can be recognized by their fine grained or glassy texture. Why do they have fine grained or glassy texture? Because of the rapid cooling. Igneous rocks, based on their mode of occurrence, can be classified into three types based on their texture. Plutonic rocks. These rocks undergo cooling and consolidation beneath the surface of the earth or within the magma chamber, like granite and gabbro. Volcanic rocks. When the rocks undergo cooling and consolidation at the surface of the earth in contact with air and water, they are known as volcanic rocks. Example of volcanic rocks are basalt and rhyolite. Hyperbasal rocks. These rocks they undergo cooling and consolidation at shallow level or near the surface of the earth, such as dolerite. They are medium grained and they occur as dikes or sills. Now, here you can see three photographs. The first one is the photograph of volcanic rock. Here this photograph is of basalt. Here you can see the rock is extremely fine grained. and as discussed earlier, this fine grained texture is due to the rapid cooling of the lava. Second photograph, it is of dolerite, that is hyperbasal rock. Here you see medium grained interlocking texture. Plutonic rock, here we in this photograph you can see the example of gabbro. You can see phenocrysts of plagioclase, and gabbro is a coarse grained rock. It forms under plutonic conditions. Sedimentary rocks, they are formed at or near the surface of the earth by processes of sedimentation or precipitation. We can compare the layers of sedimentary rocks to the pages of the book that records stories of earlier events and environment in our dynamic planet Earth. The geologists who specifically study the sedimentary rocks are known as sedimentologists. Based on their origin, sedimentary rocks can be classified into clastic and non-clastic. Clastic rocks, they comprise of siliclastic sediments which are made up of physically deposited particles such as grains of quartz and feldspar derived from pre-existing rocks. The term clastic, it is derived from Greek word meaning klastos or broken. These sediments are laid down by geological agents like water, wind and ice. Sediments are the precursors of sedimentary rocks, and they are found at the surface of the earth as loose particles such as sand, silt and shells of organisms. These particles originate in the processes of weathering and erosion. Now, let us read about non-clastic rocks. Non-clastic rocks consist of biological and chemical group of sediments that are formed by the growth of shell masses or cementing together of shells and shell fragments, by the accumulation and subsequent alteration of organic matter from the living organisms, or by precipitation of minerals from water solutions. Now, let us look at the process of formation of sedimentary rocks, how from sediments it is transformed into clastic sedimentary rocks. The loose grains of sediment, they transformed into clastic sedimentary rocks by following steps. First one is weathering. Weathering refers to entire chemical, physical and biological processes that break up and decay rocks into fragments and dissolved substances of various sizes. Erosion, it refers to the combination of processes that separate rock or regolith. Next process, that is transportation. It occurs by gravity, wind, water or ice. Deposition is the process by which sediment either settles down out of the transporting medium due to decrease in velocity, or precipitate from the solution due to saturation or change in temperature pressure. Lithification, it is the transformation of loose sediment into solid rock. Metamorphic rock is one that forms when a pre-existing rock or protolith undergoes metamorphism. Protolith or pre-existing rock can be igneous, sedimentary or metamorphic. In metamorphism, the rock undergoes a solid state change in response to modification of its environment. The rocks undergo metamorphism when they are subjected to high temperature and pressure deep within the earth. Commonly, the texture that results from metamorphism is foliation. Foliation is defined as parallel arrangement of platy minerals such as mica and or absence of alternating light colored and dark colored bands. metamorphic rocks based on their textures. They can be grouped into foliated rocks and non-foliated rocks. In the first figure, you can well observe the foliation present, whereas in second figure, it is a granular texture and foliation is absent. Now, we will discuss about the processes during metamorphism. Recrystallization, phase change, metamorphic reaction, pressure solution, plastic deformation. These are the 5 processes which are responsible for metamorphism. Recrystallization. In recrystallization, there is change in shape and size of the grain without changing the identity of constituent minerals. Phase change transforms one mineral into another mineral with same composition but different crystal structure. Metamorphic reaction or neocrystallization, which results in the growth of new mineral crystals that differ from those of protolith. Pressure solution, which happens when a wet rock is squeezed more strongly in one direction than other, producing ions that migrate through the water to precipitate elsewhere. Lastly, plastic deformation, which happens when a rock is squeezed or sheared at elevated temperatures and pressures. Now, we will discuss about rock cycle. Rock cycle concept was given by Hutton in 1785. It is one of the basic principles of geology, and this concept emerged from the principle of uniformitarianism. Rock cycle is closely related to plate tectonics processes. Rock cycle, it starts from the cooling and consolidation of mantle derived magmas, whether they are at convergent boundaries, whether these rocks or magma are generated at divergent boundaries or within plate or within intraplate tectonic setting. So, rock cycle, it starts from the primary rocks with the cooling and consolidation of magma. The erosion of lavas and exposed deep seated rocks produce clastic materials due to the influence of geological agents like wind, water, river and glacier. Because of these transporting agents, the eroded material is transported to low lying depositional basins. The deeply buried sediments in due course are deformed and metamorphosed. The tectonic cycle leads to deformation, reconstitution, uplift and accompanying erosion. The movements of plate tectonics are the main forces driving the rock cycle. In rock cycle, energy changes. As a result, there is redistribution of energy in earth systems. The rock cycle illustrates the role of various geological processes operating and transforming from one type to another. Rock cycle helps to visualize interrelationship among different components of earth systems. The rock cycle explains how geological processes can change a rock from one type to another through geological time. Now, here in this diagram again we will discuss. Here you can see lava, that is lava or magma. Under deep seated condition, it is magma that is consolidating to form rocks, and under and when the igneous rocks are erupted at the surface of the earth, they form lava. As a result of this, cooling and consolidation of magma or lava takes place. Igneous rocks, they undergo uplift, weathering, transportation and deposition to form sediments, and sediments, they undergo lithification, compaction and cementation to form sedimentary rocks. When this sedimentary rocks is buried, it forms metamorphic rocks. And metamorphic rocks, they can also be formed from igneous rocks, metamorphic rocks and sedimentary rocks. So, in the entire cycle you see one rock transforms to another, and there is redistribution of energy in various ways. We will discuss the significance of study of rocks. We have learnt about various rocks based their classification based on their origin. Now, why do we study rocks? The significance of rocks, that is, rock provides clues about formation of the earth, its past, because different rocks were formed under specific conditions. The events that shaped and continue to shape the earth could be understood by studying rocks, their constituent minerals. Do you know rocks host valuable metals, minerals, mineral deposits, coal, oil, natural gas, groundwater and building stones. All this makes the study of rocks very significant to mankind. It also helps us to understand environmental conditions of their formation, be it igneous, sedimentary or metamorphic. It throws light on mineralogical composition and interrelationship between the grains. It also enables to understand the kinetics of their formation. So, learners, we have studied about the rocks and rock cycle in detail. You have got a very good information about different types of rocks. Now, let us summarize what we have learned. We have learned the definition of rocks, classification of rocks into groups igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic, characteristics and classification of igneous rocks, processes of formation of sedimentary rocks, processes involved during the formation of metamorphic rocks, concept of rock cycle and its relation to plate tectonics, and lastly, we also discuss about the significance of studying rocks. Thank you.